Team leaders need to see themselves as the leader of their people. And as a leader of your people, when things change, where do they look? They look at the leader.
Do you think all of your company will follow the rules? Again, they won't. But how does you following the rules give you the edge?
Repetition is the mother of all skill. This is something where you can't just go over it once and say, I told you so.
Guess what? Houses will still sell. People still need to move. We are sitting on one of the most massive changes to the real estate industry in our lifetimes, for sure. And I think that there are critical ways that team leaders need to prepare and things they need to avoid when it comes to the NAR settlement going into effect August 16th. Nick, how are you, bro?
I'm doing great, but after hearing that headline, I have a little bit of fear.
Yeah. I mean, I think today being the end of July, sidebar, the California forms just came out like a couple of days ago. This being the end of July, and I know this being the hot button topic in the real estate industry, I think it's important that we talk about it. So everybody, welcome to another episode of the Reside Platform Podcast. My name is Suneet Agarwal, and today we have co-founder, good friend, smart individual, Nick McLean joining us. And Nick, I think we just go right into this.
Yeah, because we're going to be talking specifically about teams and how teams must prepare for these changes.
Yes. Even though Nick and I both own independent brokerages, this is not legal advice. This is not telling you about forms or processes for your brokerage. We are talking to team leaders and the critical things you need to be thinking about going into August. Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So this last week on my coaching calls, I don't know like when it hit me, but a coaching client was asking me a lot of questions about the NAR settlement and forms and stuff. And I mean, I'll be the first one to let you know. I'm not a broker. I'm not really a practicing realtor. I don't know the forms. You know the forms much better than I do in your state. I'm sure of it, right? Like you can name forms off. I don't know any of the abbreviations.
I know every form.
What's that?
I know every form, every number.
Yeah. So on a coaching call, the team leader I was talking to started asking about this. I was like, look, dude, I don't know. Right. But you're a team leader. You have 60 some odd people on your team. What are you going to do when your agents start to ask you that? Silence. Right. So the very first thing that everybody watching, every team leader watching this episode, I don't care if you've got a big team, I don't care if it's you and one other person, is what are you going to do about the questions that are going to happen? What do you think, Nick?
Well, you nailed it, because even if you have a broker and you're not the owner, team leaders need to see themselves as the leader of their people. And as a leader of your people, when things change, where do they look? They look at the leader.
Yep.
And they look to the leader for answers. So the last thing you want to do as a team leader is to have them have to go above and beyond you, around you, to get the answer. You're going to lose leadership equity, right? And it may be that you need to escalate that question because you don't want to give the answer. But at the same time, you want your people coming to you. So yeah, you should have that form printed out.
Yeah.
You should go through that form line by line by line with your people.
You should do that training at your local board and know the numbers of the forms.
That's right. That's right. Because they're going to have a lot of questions in different scenarios. What ifs? What if it's an investor? What if they won't sign it? What if the commission's different than what I'm asking for, what if they won't pay, right? What if the commission's 0% on the listing? Like all of these questions, you need to role play and work through them with your people.
I like that role play idea. I haven't thought about that once this week. Let's roll.
Yeah. I mean, we role play on the phone on a lead, an inbound lead and outbound lead. You got to role play this form and how to explain it to the consumer at a fourth grade level. Now, I don't know. I think that's how we've done it on our team. Washington State, unlike California, they rolled out this form over a year ago.
Yeah.
At least in draft. So we've been able to go over it. You know how many meetings I've done on this form? How many trainings? Dozens.
You?
Yes, dozens. And every time I go over it, it's like I'm going over it for the first time. When you're training your team, it's like the deer in the headlights. So, repetition is the mother of all skill. This is something where you can't just go over it once and say, I told you so. Like you need to have 100% adoption, 100% comprehension. Otherwise, I think there's going to be a huge mistake, a big error down line that's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be knocking on your door.
Your name is on the file too.
Your name's on the file.
At least it should be.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I always think I always visualize as a broker owner, like being in front of a judge, number one. Is that really, I can come up with excuses, but is that going to fly in front of a judge? I don't know. And a cross-examination and discovery. Okay. You're pretty good at talking your way out of things, but I always can it go through that test? The second test, which is not as critical as being in front of a judge, where I visualize being in front of a judge is, the auditor, the licensing auditor, your state or the auditor showing up. And if you've never experienced an auditor showing up at your office, you should experience that. So if you're a team leader,
I don't wish that on anybody.
If you're a team leader and you're not the broker, ask your broker next time there's an audit, can you sit through that with them and experience it? I had an auditor one time come to my office and she said, I need 10 files. Go grab me 10 random files. So we grabbed 10 random files. This is before
paper files when you had them all stored there?
Back in the paper files. She looked at 3 of them and said, I got to go back out. I got to go out to my car real quick. This is going to be a long day. She went and grabbed her lunch. This was like 8 a.m. She was like, she looked at one file and she's like, I'm going to be here for a while. Grab me all of them. And so she got out her soda pop, her sandwich, and she sat in my office all day. Fine tooth comb.
Oh yeah.
Fine tooth comb. So where do you go first as a team leader? Obviously training, role play, but where do you go, Suneet?
Well, I mean, so I think, yes, everybody should be versed in the forums. However, if you got a big old team and you're paying a broker, you should be able to leverage that broker for some of this. Right? That being said, know exactly who the hell you're going to leverage. You're right about the leadership equity. I don't personally. I've read the forms a couple times and I pay somebody a lot of money who knows them very well.
So you could bring them in?
Yeah.
As a guest. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have Anna Stender be the expert, my director of. She's the one that knows all the form abbreviations right now. Anyways, I'm gonna have her be the expert for my guys. But if you are at anywhere big, and I hope you have a great. I mean, if you're paying somebody money to be there, a team at a brokerage, I hope that you have a great broker you can call. kind of what you're paying for. That in
Yeah.
a compliant check, right?
That's a great point. That's a great point. I never thought of that because I've been a broker. I started my team in late 2011 or the early 2012 as a broker owner,
Yes.
under the team model. So I've always had that control. I've never really had someone I could leverage. Now with it, as our team
If
grew,
it's good, yeah.
yeah, and I have somebody in my office. You said Anna.
You
I
do,
have
yeah.
I have Kim in
Sure
my
do, yeah.
office. She loves forms. I
And
mean,
she's the broker now, right? So
she's the broker. She loves forms. She can't wait to read them. She reads the manual. She takes all the trainings. She just got done with a mediation arbitration training and was thrilled to sit in there for 4 hours. So I think the moral of that story, Suneet, is like teams. You need somebody on your team that loves forms, and they can't wait to help the other team members. They want to be smart. They want to explain the forms to them.
Kim started as a TC, right?
Kim started as my executive assistant, TCLC, transaction coordinator, listing coordinator. She did
Anna
everything.
started as listing coordinator.
Oh, no way.
Listing, it was when we had hundreds of
Yes.
listings and I hired her off Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kim primarily was my listing coordinator, right? Because I was the listing agent. That's so great. Yeah, and at Reside, if you look at Reside and some of our clients, a lot of their director of ops, that are really the glue, like they're really the ones moving the needle. They started listing coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, look at Lauren. She was TC listing coordinator. She's
Yeah.
operations ninja now. Okay, so if you're a team leader, the first thing you need to do is become aware and informed. Not become aware, sorry, become informed. Okay? I just really wanted to use that word aware. But be informed. Figure out who is going to answer it. Does everybody have that phone number? Seriously, like I have big teams that I coach where the team leaders are not the forms experts, right? Like they aren't. They're the sales guys. So figure that out. Everybody has that phone number. What's that support tree look like? That's number one. The second thing team leaders need to think about is, are there any new procedures, or systems, or processes that you need to implement around these new changes? And the first sub item of number 2, I think, is what changes are you going to make to your agent onboarding? It has to become different now. Have you thought about this? Hopefully you're recruiting agents next week. There's a likelihood that they may be a totally new agent. How are you going to, how will you address this and the changes to your onboarding? And since we have you here, Nick, with the onboarding, and I've already rolled this out, did you have to make any big changes when the forms came out?
Yeah, part of onboarding is a module and line item that needs to be proficient, and that's the buyer representation agreement. And part of that is our team rules, policy, and procedure that must be signed in writing, and how you're going to put that in your file. Your online file. It's just like anything else, a disclosure form, a listing agreement. This is what our expectation is. And that's all done at onboarding. Now, all of the other agents that already gone through onboarding then have to take that training.
Yes.
So you got to think about that in onboarding. If you're changing your onboarding, you need to go back and bring everyone back through that training.
It is retroactive. It affects everybody.
100%. 100%. And I'm also thinking about, I always want to figure out, how can I take a form and extract the value that the consumer is going to get from that form? How do I sell that form to somebody? Because if I look at that form as a way to that is that's going to give them value for signing it, it's a lot easier. Where most agents are always trying to avoid going over paperwork, I want to create a process in which we go towards paperwork, because through that explanation of the form, it lowers sales skepticism. It allows them to feel more comfortable about the future of the process. It shows our level of knowledge and expertise, so elevate our authority in the marketplace as an expert. And they're not aware, they're probably problem unaware of the costly mistakes a buyer could experience if they don't sign that.
Well, they have to.
They have to sign it. And I think a lot of agents are going to say that. Well, I'm sorry. You got to sign it. Otherwise I can't help you.
Oh, yeah.
Where I want to say, by signing this, you're going to get XYZ PDQ from me. You're going to unlock the safe to all of my services.
The way that you put that is so good, because agents should be excited when somebody signs this.
Yeah, it's like a listing agreement.
Because let me tell you, well, here in California, Nick, I'm pretty sure that a buyer can go sign as many of these as they want.
Will they?
Some will, some won't.
Some will. Okay.
Right.
So knowing that they can sign more than one, it's a race to see who can sign the most. I want the most. I want them all. Like Suneet would say, I want them all.
Yeah. 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 So, yeah, dude.
So it's now I talked
so
about
onboarding, right?
Onboarding. Well, I also want to bring up, what I said to you off air was, do you think that all the agents are going to follow the rules? Do you think agents follow the rules now? All of the rules in the right order?
Absolutely not.
No. So there's this layer of unethical, unprofessional behavior in all professions, not just real estate, but also in real estate, that you can use to your advantage. Now, without demeaning them, you can say the average agent, the unprofessional agent, may not even present you with this form prior to showing you a home. And that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars in mistakes, because if you say something, it's not confidential. They don't really work for you, right? XYZ. And so I operate at the ultimate in professionalism. And so it's not just the state is telling me to do this. It's my duty and responsibility as a professional at the highest level, as a fiduciary, to present this to you first. And you can always say no, and you can always cancel. So I'm going to throw a risk reversal out there. But I'm taking like, hey, by the way, and you might have a buyer say this to you. We didn't have to sign it the other day. We went to an open house. We didn't have to sign it. We called a Zillow ad the other day. We didn't have to sign it. Why am I signing with you? Because I'm that guy. I'm that girl. Right. So, I mean, that's
California put out an open house form.
Open house form to sign in.
California put one out.
Yeah. So the pendulum swung all the way to the far. I mean, you guys are all the way over there. Okay.
Yeah, dude. When I saw that, I was all, holy shit. There's the friggin' open house sign-in sheet.
Mm-hmm. I think part of onboarding too is like, who other than you, who's going to check to make sure the form was signed? As team
compliance, team is compliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Team. But also, hey, when you're talking to an agent on your team, they have questions. They're showing property. So you run in a team meeting. Suneet, what did you do the other day? I was showing homes. Awesome. You have a buyer agreement signed? Oh, I had a great conversation. I'm showing homes at 10 o'clock today. Great. Are you prepared to get the buyer signed? Right. Like you always got to be checking and inspecting this stuff constantly.
Yeah. Dude, good point.
Yeah. So I think as a team leader, you got to be prepared to really inspect. You wouldn't put a sign. You wouldn't put a sign in the yard and put it on the MLS without a signed listing agreement. No, it's the same thing with the buyer.
What was I going to say? California even put out another form too. I can't believe this. The form is like what somebody wants in a house form, like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, this area.
The MLS did this, or
who? California Association of Realtors.
Oh, they're like, this is a good one. Fill out this form and tell us what you want. Is that what it is? Do they sign it?
Huh? I mean, I didn't look it up, but I read it. I was all, where am I? Oh, I know.
I'm in California.
So, okay. Will your competition follow the rules? Some will, some won't. That's how it always is. There's people making their own judgment calls for whatever works for their internal narrative every day. Nick and I, and if you're going to listen to advice from me, is how about you follow the rules that the state and the government put in place and the ethical right thing to do when dealing with clients and transactions. Okay? Be in compliance. We're not lawyers. So if you want to, when you talk to people and they say, I didn't have to sign a form, I still encourage you to get the form signed. Training changes. You need to do some kind of different onboarding. Something needs to be added. What about ongoing training? Right? Like, do you need to add a weekly mastermind on the buyer agreement? Do you need to add or replace maybe, right? A weekly mastermind on LP Mama. Does the team leader, the medium-sized team leader, need to create more time to work on this? I say yes.
Yeah.
And that's good because you need to create more time anyways.
And your daily or weekly agenda, does that have to change? So your team leader, your team agenda. I've been using the same Tuesday agenda for a decade. Roughly.
Well, that's for your team. That's for your meeting.
That's for your meeting. Positive focus. Go around the room. Tell us something positive that you're focusing on that's going to move the needle forward, or a shout out,
or do that. I haven't done that in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, or a shout out or appreciation to somebody on the team that has helped you in the last week.
Great way to start. Great.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Number 2, closings. Where are we at towards our goal? Number 3, upcoming listings, where the listing agent gets to talk about the listing they signed.
Pitch your listing.
Yep. You pitch the listing. Well, guess what's added now? Signed buyer agreements. And tell us what your buyer is looking for, because it's signed. And I'm
that's
like,
gold right there. It's signed. Tell us what they're looking for.
It's signed. Tell us what. Raise your hand if you got a buyer agency sign in the last 7 days.
I am implementing that.
And guess what? It's a round of applause right now. Suneet raises his hand. I'm like, everyone stand up and applaud Suneet. He just got one signed, baby. Yes, ring the bell. And was compensated? And did you get compensation? Don't tell us what it is, but did you get a compensation package? Yes, you did. Woo, baby! We've been celebrating those wins big time.
Smart.
Yeah,
I said, do you have a bell in your office?
No, I don't have a bell. I have the ring the bell, and it's not really there. I should really get a bell.
You should.
Do you have a bell?
I have a question. Did you do anything different in Follow-Up Boss to account for the CRM, to account for signed agreements?
That's a fantastic point, Suneet. I have not. That is a hole in my process, isn't it? Because that's something a team leader needs to do or think about.
I'm going to say logically, it should be a tag.
Versus a stage.
Versus the stage.
Now, does Zillow have a stage for a buyer agreement?
Nope.
Not yet.
Or you could do a custom field buyer agreement. That's what I would do probably, because it's like a sub stage.
What in your experience, is it easier to get an agent to tag or to change the stage?
Oh, tags won't happen. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
If you try to implement the tag, it will not happen.
Okay. Unless you have a staff member doing that.
Or an automation, yeah.
A VA or automation or a
But you could automate it, like when you change the stage to appointment set or appointment met using Zillow stages, then send an automation like a form or a text. Do you have an agreement signed?
Yeah.
I mean, as a brokerage, all these agreements need to be saved.
Yeah. So the forms, the procedure in place is when it's signed, you must send it to the managing broker, your compliance person, like any other. And then that person has admin privileges and Follow Up Boss and can then tag it for us. Or VA could tag it for us.
Yeah, you could create a form right there.
Yes.
And then just say, hey, hit this button and upload the form.
Yes. Yes. This is Suneet and I geeking out over the procedures of the leads. Right?
Yeah, because it's important.
It's important. I don't think a lot of team
important for now. It won't be important for that much longer when it becomes it's just a standard. If you have an appointment met, of course I have a form signed.
But talk about Suneet, don't you have a tag when an offer is submitted or an offer is signed?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, get your mic really close, Suneet.
Is my mic going in and out?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so okay. I don't know if you guys realize this, but Suneet is like if there's a black belt for Follow Up Boss, he has a triple black belt. And
I just know the right people and think big, right?
Yeah,
so
you think big, and you've had to do this at a level of thousands plus transactions, right? Hundreds a month, right? So you had a tag. Talk to me about this. You have a tag when an offer is made or when an offer is signed, because this could be a similar procedure on a buyer rep.
Yeah, we have a tag that gets fired every time a stage is changed. One of our stages happens to be, because I subscribe to the Zillow stages, is submitting offers.
Okay,
so whenever somebody goes to that stage, then that tag is added. And the way that we got really good adoption with the stages, and shout out to Scott Hull for creating this, and it's now in Maverick, his reporting software with Ylopo, is based on the appointment setting inside of Follow Up Boss. At the end of the appointment, the agent who went on the appointment receives an SMS text message to their cellular device, and it says, "Did you meet with lead name Nick Smith?" Right? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. If they hit 1 for yes, then it says, what stage should the lead be changed to? Press 1 for met, press 2 for listing agreement, press 3 for showing homes, plus 4 for submitting offers. So the agent, it's brilliant on Scott's part for creating this. The agent can press a button and leave all the notes for the lead, and the stage gets updated. When the stage gets updated in my system, a tag gets added.
So that's done through a text, an SMS?
SMS, bro.
What technology is that?
Twilio.
Twilio. Is it an add-on? It's not part of Follow Up Boss, or is this in the functionality of Follow Up Boss?
No.
So what do people have to do to have that system in place? Is that Ylopo?
You can get it through Maverick.
Okay.
And I believe I know that Osiris with Jeff has a version of that too.
Okay.
There's a couple of other people I know that Daniel Poston has, I forget the name of his company, Inter something, has a version. Everyone has a version of that. But it's crucial. Like when I found out about it, I hired an Indian guy and had got my own version of it, right? Because it was crucial.
Yeah. So in Washington State, if you're licensed for less than 3 years, you have every one of your offers has to be reviewed by a managing broker for the first 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So as a team leader, I have to be compliant at a broker owner level. So I have a procedure in place that every offer is also sent to somebody else, right? For review. And as a team leader, yeah, and I do. I have really good compliance on this.
Okay, good, because
Really.
I have that process too, and I know it's not going.
Oh,
as
I'm
good as it
on
should be.
I'm on this one because I talk about it a lot. And you get reprimanded and you have a little
Oh yeah,
you have to come into the chief pilot's office if I find out you're not doing that. And I'll turn you off of leads. I'll turn you off of phone systems. I'll turn you off of everything. And that's the other thing about team. Hey, team leaders, this is one thing you need to think about, right? When someone is not following the rules, what are you going to do about it? When someone isn't getting those things signed, what are you going to do? What's
You
step
have
one,
to-
step two, step three?
You have to stay in compliance. Period. If your business is important, many team leaders haven't seen the darkness like we have from the governing bodies.
Yeah, so we don't mess around.
Yes, I do not play. It is scary.
Suneet, you're such a nice guy. I love Suneet. He goes on stage and he comes off stage and everyone's smiling like, I love Suneet. He's so awesome. Yeah, but Suneet don't play.
Yeah,
like he's love. He's love. He is appreciation. He is a great leader. But yeah, there's a line where we know we can't play around. This is business. Yeah. So I think team leaders, sometimes you on some things you can't play.
Don't get you can get named in a lawsuit that your name was on a file. You can get named in a lawsuit and you say, well, that was a co-agent on my team. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. Trust me.
You can be named.
Yes.
Yeah, you
can be named.
Yeah, and as a owning a property management company, when you start working in businesses that are a little bit more litigious, property management, commercial, things like that, they name everybody.
Oh, anybody they can.
Yes. So, now don't throw the baby out with the bathwater with these agents, right? They're going to give you every excuse in the book, just like they do when you give them a lead and they tell you why they haven't called it yet. Right? They're really good at that stuff.
Well, it's because the stuff is hard and it's new.
It's new. So just stay disciplined, be prepared for that conversation, have that conversation as soon as you find out about it.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I'll tell you because I've had this conversation. Hey, look, the Department of Real Estate is coming down on people. I feed my kids and my family by the money I make here. If the Department of Real Estate was to come over here and fuck with my license and I lose that ability because it's some bull crap on a file, it's really going to suck for my kids. Stay in compliance. And I have that conversation once a week.
I love the idea of having a higher level of consequence because I think that ups our game in seriousness, and as a commercial airline pilot, we didn't mess around.
You can't. People will die.
We, not only that is, you can make a mistake and people won't die. But if that mistake is caught by the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, you will lose your license. They've been known to, hey, November 209 Echo Romeo, when you land, I pull off on taxiway Juliet and an officer is going to be there to see you. I mean, it's like They will pull your license just like you were speeding, right? Just like you were drinking and driving. Like a federal agent, a police officer is going to pull your license. So
Good.
as a real estate agent, at what extent will you get your license pulled? It just doesn't happen.
When you commit fraud.
Oh, fraud.
When you intentionally go out to harm the general public.
Yeah.
That's when it's guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty close to guaranteed.
Money
it might take a couple years. You might have to go through like a mediation if you want to fight that. But I think the first thing that brokerages will do, and once again, this is not legal advice. I'm just, want to share this is if the form isn't in the file, then you're not going to get paid.
They're not going to get, yeah. At the end of the day, you're not going to get your commission check.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well just get it done in the beginning, just like anything else. This one you're being required to. So for team leaders, let's sum it up and then send these people off, huh? Number one, who is providing support? Who is going to help? How are you going to address that? You need another phone tree in place. Get a couple of your agents, get line like Ring Central, have it ring everybody. I don't know. That's an easy fix.
A Slack channel.
Mm-hmm. Slack channel too, yeah. Specific Slack channel, because my different Slack channels are blowing up right now. Who is providing support? Who is providing support? Number two, what system, process, procedure do you need to put in place? And right off the top, one of them is going to be you're going to need to fix your onboarding. And agreements should be celebrated during your weekly sales meeting. I love that. And you should consider adding this type of training to your training schedule. And number three, this is the best one. So shout out to my very smart friend Nick for coming up with this one. But do you think all of your competition will follow the rules? Hint, they won't. But how does you following the rules give you the edge?
Yes. I love that. That was a good way you put that. That was perfect.
Yes. Good thing that we recorded it. I'll have the guys strip it for some content. Besides that, I mean, how I'm talking to teams all over. People are selling houses, and that's the beauty of this. We want you to be prepared. Now, this is the same information I did on a bunch of coaching calls this week, right? Is I want you to be prepared. I want the industry, the people who listen to an hour of a podcast from Nick and I to be prepared. You will be ahead of you'll be ahead of 80%. The Pareto principle, Nick, the 80-20 rule will play in your favor just by being a little prepared. Just by showing up, because guess what? Houses will still sell. People still need to move. Be in that 20% of the people who are going to go out there and crush it where Nick and I are going to be. Okay? Nick, any final words?
Well, at Reside, we just did a training on Thursday. We do weekly agent trainings, and we went over the buying process. And part of the buying process was making sure that this step within the process was mandatory and how to get through it. And it was one of the best trainings we've had, other than the ones you do every Thursday, Suneet.
I doubt that.
But in terms of interaction, like, do you want to do a training where your agents are going to interact and pay attention the entire time? This is the topic. And like I said, I've done it dozens of times, and the attention rate and the show up rate, if you can't see it, my finger's pointing up really, really high. So I hope you got a lot out of this Reside Platform episode, Suneet.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up, baby.
Let's wrap it up. All right. Well, that was Nick trying to wrap it up and then not knowing what to say. So just passing it off to me. However, I hope you got something out of this episode. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, share with a friend who will get something out of it. Nick and I, along with John Cheplak and Preston Guyton, founded the Reside Platform. It is our platform where we empower team leaders and broker owners to do big things to have a more sustainable, scalable business worth happening, and hopefully get some of their lives back too. And you can find out more information there. We'll put it in the show notes, resideplatform.com, or just give me a call or send me a DM on Instagram. If this is your first episode, we'll put some links to our websites with a bunch of free stuff we got out there. Nick has a great book he put out that you should pay for and get. So we'll make sure to put that link in there. Besides that, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Reside Platform Podcast.